Most companies have this problem. Information is scattered in different repositories, employee handbooks, code of conduct, remote work rules, manager playbooks, all tucked away across the company intranet. Even when documents are neatly arranged, they are still mostly unstructured, which makes it hard to find the exact document and even harder to locate the precise details that answers your question. So every time someone needs an answer, it turns into a scavenger hunt. But what if you could fix that with a smart HR Copilot that actually knows where everything lives and understand who's allowed to see what? In this video, I'll show you how to build a HR Copilot powered by RAG, Retrieval-Augmented Generation, right inside Copilot Studio. This Copilot connects to your SharePoint libraries, retrieves exactly what's needed, and uses Tenant Graph Grounding with Semantic Search to automatically respect role-based access controls. So a manager can access both employee and manager documents, but a software engineer only sees what they're supposed to. No extra setup, no complex rules. It just works. Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. If you're into AI automation or just want to see how far Copilot Studio has come, you're going to love this one. Let's start by quickly breaking down what's happening behind the scenes. So what exactly is Retrieval-Augmented Generation? And why does it matter? It's the secret sauce that lets AI give accurate, grounded answers using your own organization's data. So here's how it works. When you ask a question, the system first retrieves the most relevant documents, maybe your employee handbook, policy PDFs, or SharePoint files, and then augments that information into the AI's response. So instead of guessing or hallucinating, it's literally grounding its answer in real company data. That's why the response is not only accurate, it comes with citations from the exact source. Think of RAG as giving your Copilot access to your company's knowledge safely and contextually. Now here's where Microsoft takes things to the next level with something called Tenant Graph Grounding and Semantic Search. Your tenant graph is basically a secure map of all your organization's data and permissions. Your SharePoint libraries, Teams chat, OneDrive files, and who has access to what. When semantic search kicks in, it's not just looking for keywords, it is understanding meaning. Here's the difference. If you search for, "Can I work from home?" a regular keyword search would only look for that exact phrase. But semantic search gets the intent. It knows you're asking about the remote work policy, even if those words never appear in the file. It does this using embeddings and vector similarity, which help the AI understand that terms like remote work, telecommuting, and work from home all mean roughly the same thing. And since tenant graph grounding is enabled by default, the system automatically enforces role-based access controls or RBAC. That means the AI respects your organization's permissions. Managers sees everything they should. Employees see only what they're allowed to. No manual filters, no complex setup, just smart, secure, context-aware retrieval, personalized to your user. So in short, RAG makes the AI accurate. Semantic search makes it understand meaning, and tenant graph grounding keeps it secure. Together, they create an HR Copilot that actually understands your company, knows when to stay in its lane. All right, now let's jump into the fun part, the build. Let's start with creating our SharePoint site. We'll choose a communication site. And the most appropriate template for this scenario is the human resources template. So let's select that. Let's name our SharePoint site as North Point HR Port. And let's create our site. Okay, so our site is ready. And the next step is to create our document library. So we'll choose new document library and choose a blank library. And the first library that we're going to set up is the employee resources. Let's give it a description to create. Next step in the process is to upload the resources or all the documents that are applicable to employees of this firm. So let's select all the documents. We have uploaded a total of 6 documents. Okay, so the next step in the process is to create the manager resources. So we'll go into the home portal and then choose document library again. Select a blank library, give it car, manager resources, a name, give it a description, and let's say create. Perfect. The next step is to upload the manager content. So a total of 5 documents, and these are manager specific content, right? Disciplinary action framework, exit and off-board checklist, hiring and interview toolkit. This is not applicable to all employees in general, but only to managers. That's an important point to keep in mind. The next step in the process is to set up an employee. But before we set up an employee, I just want to quickly clarify while we wait for this site to load here, is that I created the site, so I'm the site owner and I am also a manager. So I will have full permissions to the site as it is supposed to be, right? So employee resources, manager resources, I have full access. We'll set up another employee who would be a visitor, a software engineer by the name Rachel. Okay, so Rachel has read permissions to the site as of right now. So what is very important is we need to ensure that Rachel does not have access to the manager resources. And there are a few different ways you can accomplish that, but we will go to the manager resources and go to the library settings. Permissions for this document library. And we're going to stop inheriting permissions from the parent site for this library specifically. This gives more flexibility to assign unique permissions to this library. And what we're going to do here is we are going to remove the visitors group any access to the manager resources. And Rachel happens to be a member of the visitors group because we just added her with read permissions to the entirety of the site. So we'll select the visitors group and then we're going to remove the permissions. This will ensure that Rachel does not have access to the manager resources. And the best way to test it is to log in as Rachel and confirm if she is able to see the manager's resources folder here. Okay, so I've logged in as Rachel, and just to be sure, yep, I've logged in as Rachel. And what you can notice here is Rachel has permissions only to the employee resources. So she does not see the manager resources library and she'll not have access to it. It's just the employee resources that she has access to. Perfect. Just the way we want it. Now that we've confirmed Rachel has the right permissions and me as the manager have access to both the employee and the manager resources, let's jump onto Copilot Studio and actually start building our agents. So based on a simple instruction, Copilot Studio was able to set up the agent, and we will complete it by following a few simple steps here. In the overview, I just want to point out a few key aspects to the agent here. As of November 2025, you have these following OpenAI models available for you to use in your agent. And depending on the nature of the agent, the complexity of the problems the agent needs to solve, you can choose from various options, right? If you want to do complex, deep reasoning, step-by-step analysis, You have options to choose GPT 5.1 reasoning or stick with GPT 5 reasoning. But if you want to do something very simple and straightforward, you can use the 4.0. In fact, I'm sorry, 4.0 is retired already. You'll stick with GPT 4.1, which is what we will do for this use case. So the instruction has also been pre-filled by Copilot Studio, and at a first glance, it looks fairly robust already. I'm not going to change it unless and until absolutely needed, which we'll find out when we do the testing. Next steps is to configure the knowledge source. I'm going to add the knowledge source, and in our case, it's going to be our SharePoint site. Okay. So our SharePoint site was just recently created, so it takes a few minutes for Copilot Studio to recognize it. So we're going to bypass this warning and add our SharePoint site regardless. And we're going to quickly check to make sure if I've gotten the URL correct. Yes, our SharePoint site is able to load just fine. So we'll add our SharePoint knowledge source to our agent here. Okay, another quick step that we need to do is to configure our knowledge source as an official source, because all the content in our SharePoint site is official information. And it's always best practice to do so, because an agent can have several knowledge sources, some of them official and some of them not. And it's best practice to set the official sources as official sources here in the configuration. So the agent can then prioritize which information to surface first. Official sources will always be surfaced first to the end user. Before we can test our agent, let's quickly go to our settings to make sure it's configured correctly. Content moderation is set to high, and that's the default value. We'll keep it at that. We'll turn off general knowledge because we want to have the agent grounded in our SharePoint site. We also want to turn off web search, which is again to make sure that the agent is grounded to our SharePoint site. File upload is also not applicable. Code interpreter is also not applicable. But if you're interested in code interpreter, there are recent videos where I go very in depth into its use cases. So kindly do watch some of those videos. Tenant Graph Grounding with Semantic Search needs to be turned on. It is on by default, and this is what will allow us to surface very rich information back to the end user. Let's save the settings and quickly go on to our home screen here, and let's run a quick test. Okay, what is the tuition reimbursement? Perfect. So it was able to search both the employee resources and the manager resources, all the documents within it, and find the right document and the right information within the document and surface it to the end user. As usual, it will also provide the right citation, and in this case, tuition reimbursement details are available in our employee benefits guide. Now that we have tested our agent, we need to publish the agent before we can make it available to different channels, and we'll look at the different channel options in just a second here. Okay, so with the agent published, let's make it available to the Teams and Microsoft 365 Copilot channel, because that is the channel through which employees would access this agent. And so let's choose the channel and add channel. Okay, so this is our HR agent, and it needs to be available to everyone in the organization. So we can do so by choosing availability options and to make it show to everyone in my org. And this step requires approval by the admin. And so we'll submit our agent for approval. Okay, now that the agent has been submitted for approval, let's go to the Teams admin console and approve the agent. Within the admin console, you need to go to Teams app and manage apps. And here you can search for your agent, HR assistant. Again, this is something that the Teams admin would do. As you can see, the agent is blocked and we need to enable it. Of course, the Teams admin has an option to reject your request. But in this case, of course, all the reviews, governance, testing has already been done. So it's a very valid agent that we want to make it available to all our employees here. So we're going to publish. Perfect. Now that the agent has published, it's time to test the agent from Teams. I'm going to start the testing by logging into Teams as a manager myself, and I want to know a little bit about password best practices. The agent was able to retrieve the information. In this case, password best practices are available in the IT acceptable use policy, and it's clearly provide the citation at the very beginning of the response. One thing you'll immediately notice is the richness and the depth of the response, and that is semantic search at work. The more old-fashioned keyword search will not give you this level of details when it comes to responses. I'm going to run the same test as an employee. I've logged into another team session. This time I've logged in as Rachel, the employee. I'm going to ask the same question about password best practices. I should get a very similar response. It will not be exactly the same, but it will be semantically similar. There you go. As usual, it's able to cite the document at the very beginning, capture all the details about password best practices in a very nice bulleted format for the user to understand. I'm back in Teams as a manager, and I want to know guidance on merit increase range and promotion eligibility based on most recent performance review ratings. This information is a very manager specific question. Let's ask the agent and see its response. The agent was able to retrieve the information, check the salary adjustment and promotion policy, and retrieve information from the employee handbook. What is very important here to note is that salary adjustment and promotion policy is within the manager resources. Only managers will have access to this content. It was able to give a very detailed response based on information available in these two documents. I've logged back to Teams as Rachel, the employee, and I'm going to ask the same question about merit increase and promotion eligibility. Rachel did get a response back, but it was able to retrieve information only from the employee handbook. Employee handbook is a document within the employee resources library. Now, when you compare this response to the response I received as a manager, I received a lot more information, a lot more details, because it was also able to look into the salary adjustment and promotion policy, the document within the manager resources library, along with the employee handbook, the document within the employee resources library. You can clearly see that I have a lot more details versus Rachel. Her information is only limited to what is available in the employee handbook. And this is tenant graph grounding at work. This proves that the agent cannot surface information that the user does not have access to. And that is a very important point I want to drive across. So why does this matter, and what's the real return on investment here? Because when information becomes instantly available, productivity skyrockets. Think about how much time employees spend searching for HR policies or compliance details. With a Copilot like this, those answers are just a question away. Accurate, consistent, and always up to date. For HR teams, it means fewer repetitive questions, fewer help desk tickets, and less frustration. For business leaders, it means better compliance, faster decisions, and an empowered workforce. And here's the kicker. Building something like this isn't a 6-month IT project. With Copilot Studio and SharePoint Grounding, it's a drag, connect, and deploy experience. You can go from concept to working AI in under an hour. That's massive ROI. Faster access to accurate information, improved employee experience, and lower operational overhead, all while keeping your data secure. Now, I intentionally kept the solution simple to show you the core idea. But the same approach can power far more complex industry-grade scenarios. In healthcare, for example, imagine an AI assistant that retrieves treatment protocols or insurance policies securely based on clinical rules. In manufacturing, think of a maintenance copilot that pulls safety manuals, repair procedures, and compliance checklists straight from internal systems. And in finance, an AI advisor that answers audit or regulatory queries, but only for people authorized to see the data, all powered by the same foundation: RAG, Tenant Graph Grounding, and Semantic Search. One pattern, infinite possibilities. All the resources, links, and files used in this demo are available in the description below, so you can try everything out for yourself. If you found this useful, hit that like button and share this video so others can benefit from these insights. And subscribe, because I'll be sharing more hands-on builds that solve real complex business problems using AI and Copilot Studio. Together, let's transform businesses one intelligent solution at a time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.